I absolutely agree with you. This is the best season of The Boys by far. And it really, after episode 3 for me, took off. I was absolutely in love with it. I loved every character. I couldn't stop watching Homelander. I think Antony Starr, it's an Emmy-winning performance.
Hello and welcome to the Movie Podcast spoiler-filled discussion of The Boys Season 3. My name is Daniel, and joining me today, as always, are my boys, Shahbaz.
Hello.
And Antony.
Hello.
I'm just confirming. Are you guys doing butcher accents? Is that what's
I think
going on here?
was. I don't know what Anthony was doing, but
that was a butcher accent. Hello.
Nah, man. You were like, hello, mate. What, would you like your windows shined right now?
I'm a chimney sweeper from the 1930s.
I'm a chimney sweep.
But people don't have chimneys anymore, so you're more like a window cleaner at this point.
I
People
guess.
don't have chimneys anymore? People still have chimneys.
I mean, fireplaces are pretty much like gone now.
Yeah, but the houses that have them.
Yeah, but
still
if someone goes down a chimney, they're just gonna be like, okay, I'm stuck in a chimney now, and they'll have to come back up.
Okay, if you're gonna name drop, just say Santa Claus, man, because who else is gonna go down?
I go down chimneys all the time just to make sure that people are keeping their houses safe, and then I take something with me.
What are you doing with this chimney? This is outlawed.
Chimneys. I'm not gonna lie to you. People are put in chimneys to
why?
In what country?
Because they've been buried there.
Okay.
I don't have time to unpack that.
No, I don't want to unpack this.
I don't want to unpack it. Today, of course, is going to be our full-on spoiler discussion of everything that happens in The Boys Season 3. We really wanted to talk about the show weekly. It's been so crazy on the Movie Podcast. We've had so much going on, but we absolutely love the show. So I'm so excited to dive into everything on the show. Antony, you mentioned that you wanted to give a bit of a warning before we started.
Yeah, we want to make sure that we have our disclaimer that this will be the most diabolical rated R conversation in the entirety of the Movie Podcast, but we will be limiting our swear words to certain words and excluding other ones.
There's some words that Butcher may love to say, but you know what?
We're not British.
We're not going to say them.
We're not
British enough to pull them off. Yeah, we're not British enough to pull them off. As always, you can catch a brand new episode of the Movie Podcast every single Monday. And watch out throughout the week for review episodes and all the latest movies and series. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Letterboxd. And don't forget to leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Join our Discord and write into the show at hello@TheMoviePodcast.ca. You can also follow us on YouTube if you're watching this on YouTube right now. Hello there. Make sure you comment what you thought of the season. You like this video, ring the notification bell, and of course, subscribe to the show. All the links for everything and more are in the podcast or in the video that you're watching right now. So thank you so much for your support. There are a lot of amazing episodes of the Movie Podcast out right now that you could watch or you could listen to, however you want to support us. We've had some really cool guests joining us on the show. This week alone, we had Joseph Quinn of Stranger Things Season 4. He plays Eddie. He is such an awesome human being, and I was so happy that we got to have him on the show to talk to us about Season 4. We also just recently had Paul Walter Hauser, who you'll know and love from movies like Cruella, Richard Jewell, Cobra Kai, and of course, Blackbird, which is going to be releasing on July 8th on Apple TV+. It's another great show. You want to check it out 100%. Also, in the last couple weeks, we've been really lucky to have some great people join us too, including Amon Villani of Miss Marvel, Hayden Christensen, Deborah Chow of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and so many more incredible people. We're so lucky to be doing what we're doing on the Movie Podcast right now and have all the amazing talent joining us. And we have lots more special guests and movies to review and episodes of the Movie Podcast waiting for you. So please, if you like what we're doing, support us. If you want to support the show in other ways and buy our merch, I'm wearing one right now. Antony's wearing one right now. We have official Movie Podcast merch that you can purchase if you want to help us keep the lights and the mics on. But today, like we said at the top of the show, this is all about The Boys Season 3, 8 episodes, no holds barred. So we're going to talk about everything. So if you haven't watched it and you somehow made it like 5 minutes into this episode without realizing, hey, they're talking about The Boys Season 3 today, this is your last warning. We're going to go full on into it. Antony, I'm going to get you to start us off with just your overall feelings of the season.
I really like this season. This was probably the best season of The Boys. It just in terms of storytelling, in terms of character development, and also the introductory of Soldier Boy, who is my favorite new cast member. He's just I haven't read the comics to Soldier Boy yet, so I don't know what the comics interpretation of him is. But this version, or the version that we got on screen, was fantastic. He is a certain. It's like he is Captain America and Wolverine put together from a time period,
and super racist.
Like there's something about Soldier Boy that I find empathy with, because I don't know if he's that bad of a person. He's not like the other guys, like the actual Seven, but I really like Soldier Boy this season, and I loved everyone's story. Everyone had enough screen time to really shine Frenchie and Kimiko and their relationship, and learning about his past with little Nina, and his name. Now we know his name is Surge.
Yeah.
We dived into Homelander becoming the right-wing conservative poster boy, and now runs Vought, which is super interesting. Nadia, the head popper, very like you can see she's the puppet master in this case, in this scenario. She's taken over and learning about her connection to Vought and why she is who she is.
And now she's running for VP.
Yeah. We have Huey and Starlight's relationship. We have Butcher's past, but there's so much story in this season. We're gonna talk about it all, but I really, really loved it. This is probably the best season.
Yeah, I'm right there with her. I think the season started off a bit slower in kind of getting all the pieces in play. And of course, after season 2, that ending of season 2 with Stormfront and that battle, you always wonder, I'm like, how could the boys surprise us now? I think we're so used to just how insane and fucking diabolical the show could be. You don't, until it reaches that new bar, and this show does that, and I think Herogasm especially, you're just watching it and you're like, holy shit, okay, we're doing this, or we're showing this, or we're going to go here. I really love that nothing's off limits in this show. That the show will go wherever it wants to go. It will tell whatever stories it needs to tell. And it's not worried about how you perceive certain characters, because there are clear bad guys in this show. And I really like that, because in a lot of, just superhero media or just any media, I think it's hard to have, a character who's evil or a villain stay a villain. And this show's not afraid to be like, there are no redeeming things for this character. There is no redeeming Homelander. Yes, you could feel empathy for them, or yes, you could feel bad for them, but there is no redeeming what they've done. You know what I mean?
One thing I forgot to mention is this season really took creative risks with its storytelling, especially the sequences with Noir and the animated sequence, like the Roger Rabbit, which was fantastic. They had the musical with Kimiko and Frenchie, and then even Butcher's past being relived in like almost like a dream sequence. They really put in different genres of film or TV stuff that we love into this show to just make it different and unique compared to all the, the superhero type of storytelling that we're so used to, which is like one after the other. Like they took those creative risks, which, it worked out for them.
Yeah. And, it definitely helps when you have a show that is, it's 8 episodes long, which isn't a super long time, but, it's using those hours. It's using that hour of television to tell a story. And it does a great job of balancing on the characters. Shay, I'm going to get you to jump in here. Let us know your thoughts on this season, because for our listeners, you really liked the first 3 episodes, but it wasn't wowing you yet. I'm just wondering, have you come around on that?
Yeah. So the first 2 episodes for me were great, but they just never were like, this is the next evolution of the boys. And I think I remember saying that I'm hoping that they kind of up the ante and reinvent themselves in a way. And Antony, all the points you just kind of brought up with the different styles of episodes, the depth that they brought to the characters, that was what this show needed. And I absolutely agree with you. This is the best season of The Boys by far. And it really, after episode 3 for me, took off. I was absolutely in love with it. I loved every character. I couldn't stop watching Homelander. I think Antony Starr, it's an Emmy-winning performance that he does, especially in the Hero Gasm episode. There's this monologue that he kind of does to himself, and I was just struck. I watched it like 3 times. I kept fast forwarding it. I'm rewinding it and being like, yeah, I got to see that again, because that was unreal. And on top of that, Jensen Ackles as Soldier Boy was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I don't really watch much stuff of Jensen Ackles, but I was on the floor with whatever he was doing. I got it. He was fantastic. He was just the right level of Homelander that you needed. But Antony, you're right. There is some level of empathy that you kind of have for him because he's almost like a fish out of water situation. Still a horrible person, still completely an asshole, but there's still something like maybe there's some redeeming you. Like, that meme you always see online, I can save him. Like, that's kind of where I was like, maybe he can be saved, There's a lot about this season that I like, that it took those risks. It made itself stand out beyond just the boys. It became a season that I wish more people watch the show. I know a lot of people watch the show already, but a lot of people are turned off by, its gratuity and violence and language and nudity and everything. But behind all that, there is something so beautiful being told here by the performances and by the story itself.
I love what you just said, Shay, because I think this show's barrier to entry is the show itself, right? It's if you're going into the show and you have no idea what to expect, especially if you think about season 1, that first episode, that first scene of Huey on the sidewalk with his girlfriend as A-Train runs by and she just turns into just blood and guts on Huey, right? I think people are going to watch that and be like, yeah, it's not for me. But there is such incredible performances in the show, and there's such great writing in this show that I think will go overlooked because people will, think of it only as a spectacle or think of it as the show that has, the crazy violence or the crazy giant penis that people enter into in the first episode. I think that was when I remember us reviewing that first episode and being like of season 3 and being like, oh my god, okay, this is how the show's starting.
This is a show that, whenever like a big tragedy happens in the world and they're like, you got to blame video games, you got to blame this, Marilyn Manson, like people are going to be like, you got to blame the boys. But it's like, no, like that's you looking at it so surface level. There's this show is making fun of exactly all those things. It's putting a spotlight on that, and you're so blind to seeing it. And that's what makes the show so damn good.
Leave it to like this show to really be the show that gives us the real commentary on what's going on in the world today and with politics and the alt-right and toxic masculinity. And just like there's so many amazing things that this show touches on that you're so right, Shay, that when you watch it, if you're looking at a surface level and people are just like, yeah, we love Homelander, but it's like, don't you realize that they're making fun of that? They're showing you how bad this is. And that's what's so brilliant about this show, is that you're seeing in real time what we experience in the world today, where you have like these, you'll have someone who goes and does this horrible thing, this shooting, because they're thinking they're enacting justice, and they're looked at as heroes, and the rest of the world looks at it like, how are you praising this person, or how are you praising this political figure? And they're not afraid to do that. And especially this season, turning, Homelander realizes that, hey, by me speaking out more and me not being muzzled and not being, held back from what I'm saying, I'm gaining traction with another audience he didn't even know he had. You know what I mean? So he doubles down on that, because then you start getting those people who felt like they've never been represented, those racist assholes, start coming forward, and they feel like they have their champion that they could point to, be like, nah, he's fighting for us. And that's so evocative in that last scene, right?
And don't the racist assholes need more of a hero out there? Like I've always said, the racist assholes need a mascot.
It's amazing that they need more. They need more assholes out there, because there's so many that they can look up to in the real world. So it's funny that they turn to the show to try and find more. Antony, jump in here. What are your thoughts right now for season 3? I know there's so many points that we could talk about. Is there anything specific you want to talk about? We could kind of jump off from there.
Probably like I'm going to mention the Deep. I think the Deep really grew in this season in terms of just his character leaving, we'll say, the Scientology type of church last season, and then coming into his own and writing his book. What's the book called? The Deeper, I think it's called.
Yeah.
But like just the level of bringing the Deep now into, I'm going to have sex with fish. This is now my thing, with the whole octopus and ambrosia and just,
yeah.
Oh my gosh. And eating his best friend is just,
I was about to say, like that scene when they are at the at the vault table and they're eating, and it's like Homelander forces him to eat the octopus. You're just like, oh my god.
And CG was great this year too. Like they really did a fantastic job with the production value in terms of how, like, when did they start filming this? I want to say last year.
Last summer, I want
Yeah,
to say
and
they
to this
started shooting it.
point, like they did such a banger job of getting everything out and getting everything polished. Watching the first episode, and you mentioned, the penis scene. I thought that was going to be the most extreme that we got, but then
That was just the tip of the
episode
iceberg.
yes, tip of the iceberg, and I thought that was like, okay, you can't go any further with that. That's like some random, like you got to have a creative mind to think of that sequence.
But do you though, Antony? Do you though? Because
like I would never think that. Like
I agree, but also like that was clearly like an answer to the Ant-Man and Thanos' ass.
Is it
right?
Right, like it was like every time like people said, why did Ant-Man just shrink himself, go inside of Thanos' ass, and then just get bigger and kill him?
But why?
That's kind of what they answered this. That's kind of like
he shrink down, and this is why. But instead, the boys was like, instead of going to his ass, let's go through the pee-pee hole.
Crank it up a little bit more. That's what they said.
And then he literally sneezes and explodes, and he's in a pile of cocaine. And again, this is just the first scene of the show.
This is the first 10 minutes.
This is the first 10 minutes of episode 1 of this season, and then you're on a roller coaster from there. One person that I thought got a little bit sidelined this season was Maeve, and obviously for story reasons, you see why that she was kind of set aside, obviously, from everything that she was going through. But it was great to see A-Train, get a lot of great scenes in this in this season, especially him dealing with, that this is another thing that, I think the show does. Again, it's not afraid to touch on themes in the real world. So we're looking at police brutality and things like that. Well, let's look at superheroes who are doing that and being super aggressive to minority neighborhoods and things like that. And when they are approached about it, they get all defensive. And then that scene when I guess they're at, was it like a city hall meeting, or was it just like a photo op
community center, I think?
Yeah, and then A-Train and him start fighting. Like, oh my god!
Yeah, it was a town hall meeting in regards to who was the bad
Blue Hawk, right?
Blue Hawk, and how he was
yeah.
dealing with people in the community, and then he goes on this rampage. It's not my fault, it's your fault, and he brings up the Black Lives Matter, but it's all lives matter type of thing. So
yeah,
and then he paralyzes A-Train's brother, and then you find the show does a really good job of giving you empathetic moments to heroes that don't deserve it, especially for A-Train, because he said he's a murderer. He killed his girlfriend. He killed Huey's girlfriend, and even Ashley, who's Vought's PR or head of VP, whatever. She even says it, like, you are a bad person, and he realizes that, and he's trying to make good on it. But I don't know how good, because he even got Starlight's ex
Supersonic.
Dead.
Yeah. Supersonic, right?
Yeah.
It's a show that it twists and turns and puts you in positions where you feel, oh, I feel sorry for him. Oh, no, I don't. Oh, I feel sorry for him. And that's good, because you're changing the dynamics of you really caring about these characters.
Yeah, and I think that's just like how the show does such a great job of representing just like humanity in right now. We're just like, yeah, like not everyone's all bad, but like you could still be a bad person, even though if you do things that you think are still right. Herogasm was an episode that we touched on lightly, but this was the episode that I think a lot of people were, when it was announced that they were going to actually do it this season, people were just like, how are they going to show this? How are they going to do it? And then we actually get to that episode, and it's pretty wild. And I feel so bad for Mother's Milk, man, who's just arrives to the party, opens the wrong door, and he just gets splattered. He gets splattered. Yeah.
I remember that sequence. I messaged you guys. I'm like, oh my god, poor MM, because MM he's OCD. He likes things neat and clean, and now he's put in the most uncleanliness situation where he has to. But like that situation was like beyond something I think he could have dealt with.
Yeah.
But Herogasm just turned that 10-minute sequence in the beginning of episode 1 to 10, because I did not expect everything that happened out of that episode.
But yeah, so we spoke a lot about Jensen Ackles, and I think Jensen Ackles is such a great actor, and I've been a big fan of him since since Smallville days, and then I watched a little bit of Supernatural, not too much of it, but I remember hearing his voice in the Batman Under the Red Hood animated film from like 2010, and he actually does the voice of Red Hood, and I remember Andrea Romano, who's like iconic voice casting director, who did like the Batman the Animated Series and everything like that. She's saying like, yeah, like this guy's going to have a career where like one day he'll play Batman, and you could totally see that because the way he carries himself is just, he has like that Captain America just like feel to him, but also just like, I have like these 1950s sensibilities where it's just like when he smacks Huey, right, and he's just like, I warned you, and you're just like, oh, like this guy's scary, but he's like, you weirdly like him, right? And I love that confrontation in the Herogasm episode where it's Homelander arrives and it's Butcher who now has powers because we learned that they're able to take Temp V, where they can just for 24 hours be powered up, right? And then it's a fight between Homelander, Soldier Boy, Butcher, and then Huey's there as well too. And Huey also has a great moment earlier at Herogasm with A-Train, where A-Train actually apologizes to him, and Huey, it's what Huey wanted this whole time, but as soon as he gets it from A-Train, he he punches him, right, or smacks him.
He punches him.
Yeah. So it's crazy. Then we of course we learn that the more Temp V you take, the more fatal it is to your body, right? Like you will die.
It just starts making holes in your brain, right? So
yeah.
Yikes.
There's so much that happens. So let's focus a bit more on the finale. So we're building up to a big fight between Homelander and Soldier Boy, and basically everyone kind of showing up to take on Homelander. But as soon as Soldier Boy, attacks Ryan, the fight kind of switches sides. Antony, do you want to kind of break down that final fight for us?
Well, I think one thing that we want to mention before is, we learned that Soldier Boy is Homelander's
biological
father. We don't know who the biological mother is. I suspect it's Stormfront, which would be even like, it's something that the boys
so messed up.
Twist.
But yeah, you could see it. Yeah.
But yeah, so we learned that. So he has some sort of, he doesn't want to go through with it, but he might because it is his son. And Homelander learns that he has a father. It wasn't just like he was grown in the lab. And then Ryan, who is the son of Homelander, who has a deep connection with Butcher, conflicted with what's happening in front of him because now he cares for his father, he cares for Butcher, but he doesn't know what side to take on. And I think once, Ryan is in danger, both heroes in this world, take up the mantle as the father figure for Ryan, and they fight. You got the fight with Homelander versus Soldier Boy, and then Homelander versus Maeve, and you got Butcher versus Soldier Boy. It's a good fight at the end. I think everyone gets a piece of what they want. I was super shocked that Maeve was the I guess the savior of that scene where she throws him out the window and he explodes. Yeah. She loses an eye, she loses her powers, which is probably a good thing for her because she really wants to just be with her girlfriend. But Ryan is now put in a spot where he rather be with Homelander. And that end sequence is the shocker. It's like we see someone from the crowd throw, I don't know if it was a brick or something.
I think it was like a can, wasn't it? Like yeah.
At Ryan, and boom. So why do I want to say Soldier Boy? I keep saying it. Homelander lasers that dude's head off in public. This is not a dream sequence. This is something that really happens.
Full crowd. This is at a full rally, a Homelander rally,
and everyone's okay with it. And that's when Homelander realizes, I'm on top of the world now. Nothing can hold me back. I can do whatever I want. But that end sequence of Ryan just, I guess, being celebrated in that sense.
That little smile that he does.
That little smile. I don't know where that takes his character. Is he going to be bad? Is he going to be good? But it's not a great point because Butcher might have to take him out.
Yeah,
well, these are his formative years, right? As a kid, he's learning so much, and not only that, but he's finding his powers. And if his powers are anything like Homelander's, to quote Uncle Ben, with great power comes great responsibility. And unfortunately, in the boys universe, the responsibility part is out the window. It's just great power for all of these people.
Yeah, what's Butcher's line is, with great power comes the absolute certainty that you'll turn into the right C word.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is a great
we can't say that word.
A great twist on it.
We can't say it. We can't say C.
No, we don't have the money for that word on this show.
No budget for that word.
But I will say though, like, I love that Homelander introduces his son now to the worlds. And that's what's really interesting too, is that they both, just kind of float down from the sky, and it's like, here's my son Ryan to the world, right? And that's why he gets the can thrown at him. And that silence after Homelander literally just destroys that guy, like turns him into just mush. Like, everyone's just kind of silent, and then one person starts cheering on their own, and then the crowd goes crazy. And it literally reminded me so much, again, they're not like secretly veiling their inspirations behind this. This is clearly, like, remember back in like a couple years ago when Trump was like, I'm so popular I could shoot somebody in Times Square and I'll still have all my followers, I'll still be celebrated. That literally is that. And we're seeing that. And we're seeing that in the real worlds with just awful, deplorable human beings. And you're seeing this reflected, I think, so incredibly well used in this show. And I think this show does so well, is that it's not afraid to hold a mirror up to the world and show how crazy the boys' world could be, but it's not as far. Like, again, if we were watching the show 10 years ago, this would feel so like this can never happen in our worlds. But what's so scary about watching this show now is that it's eerily close to what we are seeing in the world, and that's where it's getting its inspirations from, which is so scary. But also what the show's, again, like, what we've been saying for the last 30 minutes is that behind all the blood and guts and gore and other bodily fluids that I'm not going to list here on the movie podcast, there is such incredible writing. There are such strong characters, and there's just such attention to detail, such great attention to detail throughout this show that really just makes it all the better. And now watching this season, like, as soon as I finish this season, I'm like, man, I want to go back and watch it from the beginning now. And I want to just see how this all flows together and tells one story. And I'm so glad they start shooting the next season next month, because I cannot wait to watch more. Any other final thoughts on this season of The Boys before we wrap up? Looks like we are all good. We're getting all shaken heads right now. Thank you so much for listening to the Movie Podcast spoiler-filled discussion of The Boys Season 3. Stay tuned on the Movie Podcast for coverage on whatever news comes out of The Boys Season 4. We cannot wait for it. We love the show. How many seasons do you guys think the show is going to go? We're getting spinoffs now. We had the animated spinoff. What do you see this show going?
I think like 5. 5 seems like a good number.
5's a good number. I don't think it needs to go like really long. 5 is a great number, because that would be 2 more seasons, wraps it up nicely and neatly. And I think at the end of it, it's going to come down to Homelander and Butcher, which is something that they were planning this year, but things have changed. But
right,
that is the ultimate goal for, I think, this show, is to have those two finally duke it out, because they represent the extreme sides of each of their characters' beliefs. So it makes sense to end it with that. And I think 5 seasons would be perfect.
Yeah. And also, just something quickly that we didn't touch on too briefly, with Butcher now seeming to be dying, right, from using the Temp V too much, it's going to be really interesting to see where they take his character, or where they're going to wrap up the show, because can the boys exist without Butcher? And we're going to find out. As always, you can catch a brand new episode of the Movie Podcast every single Monday. And watch out throughout the week for our review episodes and interviews with people from the movies, from the series, from all across the world. I don't know why I said it like that. It's a very weird way of saying it. But yeah, stay tuned for all of our reviews and interviews on all the latest movies and series. Make sure you follow us at The Movie Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Letterboxd. And don't forget to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, join our Discord, and write into the show at hello@TheMoviePodcast.ca. You can also subscribe to us on YouTube if you're watching us there right now. Ring the notification bell, subscribe, and do all that other fun stuff on YouTube. Please check out the show notes for all of those links and more. That was This Time with the Movie Podcast, and we'll see you next.